Hi, guys. Welcome to the Alan Show. Say hello to Mr. Dummy. We're having a little conversation. Mr. Dummy was asking me if I know where do all these crazy ideas come from of helping people. After all, if you have a strong family, right? And if you're rooted with your family members, then why people should need help? And he was asking me, why is it that the government has to help people? So, well, I'm a guy in my mid 50s and I live a fair share of life. So let's see if I can illustrate you by paraphrasing things. I was brought up religious. The first principle of kindness, as far as I know, it's a religious principle. So a lot of people call these days people's names like conservatives or liberals and lefties and right? Now, when something goes from the house, meaning from your neighborhood to downtown, things can get a little strange. Meaning, if you help your neighbor, you're a good person. But if you help a stranger, well, that's a different name. In the Holy Book, right here, this is not a religious show. I'm a salesman, not a preacher or pastor or any sort of other title than just a salesperson that lived a long life. When I grew up, there was commandments and there were all little things that you're supposed to do when you practice your religion. There are four main things that I learned that you have to practice to know that you are a good follower. Religious, I'm ex-religion, don't worry about it. Don't get so hung up in details. One was compassion. The other one was charity. The other one was caring, but there was one invisible one called hope. What happened since then? Okay, what I noticed is, and this is a personal experience, my mom used to help like orphan kids that were on the street. I grew up in a third world country where that's very common. You see a lot of orphan kids. She will bring them home, give them some of my clothes. Why? Which I had no problem with it. It was part of sharing to the less fortunate. Now, sometimes that didn't go as planned. These kids did not want it to be in a structure and they ran away again. Well, you can only try so many times and then people give up. Here's what happened in the last few decades. We have known that guilt can be a tricky thing. So Mr. Dami was asking me why people feel so guilty about helping other people. Right? I was going to tell him. A lot of the principles of helping people come from a religious background. I remember the Romans were having a hard time getting people to pay taxes and do a lot of things because they were doing a lot of things for free to one another. That didn't work out very well with the system. After all, the systems are all about taxation and structure. Early Christians were a bit of the rebellious kind. So when I was growing up, I noticed that being a Christian of the Christian faith, right? Catholic, whatever denomination is Christian, was kind of a rebel, because you are promised heaven, right? So there's no downside to anything. But what happens when some people has a different idea of it? Instead of being charitable, is by force and demand. Okay, every man has a right to be free thinker and independent. So some guy came in a few years back, century or so ago, or 2 centuries. But this is not a new thing. This has been going on forever. It's two or three different types of concepts, but they all originated from the same source: religion. The difference with religion, as we practice it today, is the people, in one hand, are sort of obligated to help their fellow man. Mr. Dummy, you don't help nobody. But then what happens when people want to force you to help somebody and you don't even know those people? Well, that's the problem we're having. Well, you gotta give these people because these people deserve the same life as you. Wait a minute. There is a fundamental problem there, right? And who's preaching this and why? Well, you can't go to a church or a building that is advertising this openly because you can't find it. As you know, a lot of people out there are demanding that people should be helped based on breathing air. So demanding always creates problem. When they demand taxes, when they demand anything, it creates a problem and it needs an enforcement. So what happens when people has a good intention but want to do it by force? Then that's not a good intention. That is an obligation. People are not obligated to help nobody, just like Mr. Dummy. It's a goodwill. Just like the government should not be obligated to help anybody, we should be self-reliant. But we know that people fall in between the cracks. The people fall off the wagon. The people have situations and they always need help. Medical system is the big argument, right? We should all have medical system, like we're all sick. We know we're going to get sick, but we are not all sick. But it's a good political tool to kind of get people in the wagon of going and swaying that way. Although in practical, it doesn't really work. How are you going to pay millions and billions of dollars helping people, right? In the end, who's going to pay for all that? It's impractical, and that's why only small countries practice it. People say, well, in Europe, these countries are this tiny and this population, and they're very wealthy because guess what? There's only one kind, and they don't share it with that many people. Big picture, my friend, don't get so hung up on details. As I live enough in my life to tell you one thing is that there will always be a struggle between the less fortunate and the better off. But you can't force people to help other people because in the end, it doesn't help anybody. Some people really don't want any help. How many times you heard the case where you offer somebody offered food to somebody and they threw it out in their face? Don't be misled by the hurt of other people. Not everybody is innocent as you think. Now, we have problems with addiction. We have problems with different sources. The society always have from the beginning of time. The solution to a lot of problems is not band-aiding the problem and leaving the infection unattended. The problem begins at home, in school, and in the future. We're not going to fix this problem by trying to correct everybody that has fallen off some sort of situation. We're going to fix the problem by fixing the future, the children, the system. Now, a lot of people are demanding that the system get fixed or else. Well, that is a problem. That else will always be a problem. Conservatives say that people should go their own way as far as they can, and when they fail, they'll be there to help them. It happens, and it's true. In this country, if you're sick, you're not left out to die. That's a lie. Do not fall for false advertisement, propagandas, and things for people seeking their own interests. It's just really not true. Yeah, there will be cases where perhaps somebody didn't make it fast enough to the place, and there's mishaps. Nobody's perfect. But in general, my own experience, I've seen people attended in hospitals, they had absolutely no money to pay for anything, and the bills were this big, and the generous country that they live in put up the tab. I know a lot of people want a perfect utopia, but a lot of demands that are given out there, and this is not coming from a scholar, this is not coming from a medical doctor, or no, this is coming from a guy who has sold a lot of stuff to different people. When people are strong, they have different priorities. And sometimes they make mistakes because they get greedy, they get arrogant. There's many reasons why people fall. It's not always misfortune. And I understand being an orphan or being somebody of one parent, that is a difficult thing, and I understand it very clearly, believe me. But one thing I can tell you is that this country will only be strong as its people. If we all feel sick that we need to be in the doctor's office every single day, or we need to have that access to it, that's where we're going to end up. The mind is a powerful thing. If we are all strong, then we have a strong nation and we can help everybody. But if we are all broken down into pieces and forced into help one another when we're not capable of doing it, then we're all going to end up on the ladder. I know people have good intentions. I know what this country was built on. A lot of people want to refuse their fundamentals because they are misled or is simple ignorance. If you know that deep roots of your concepts and ideas and what you're demanding, perhaps you're more religious than the average religious person. After all, a lot of religions were forced onto people. And what are you doing today? So think about it. Sometimes we are religious when we think we're not. So for Mr. Dummy, read a lot. Read what you don't like, because that's where is your answer. You don't have to be religious to be righteous and to be correct. You just have to be a human being, and you have to be patient and wait for your turn. You can't force other people to be like you. That's called tyranny, and it never works, especially when you're the minority. So next time, ask Mr. Dummy, he knows a lot more things. What's a conservative? What's a liberal? What's a libertarian? It's nothing more than people trying their own way. At the end, if you go too far to the left, you're going to fall over the other side. And you end up in the hands of the conservative. Life is a circle, my friend. Nothing more. All right. Take care. Like, share, subscribe, rant, comment, but don't be vulgar. We don't need that anymore. You see the troll. Nobody likes that at the end. All right. Happy day. Take care.